Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio. And I'm super excited to be here because I'm here to share a whole lot of interesting thoughts, a whole lot of interesting information with you to make sure that you're always informed and updated about the very latest that happens, not just here in the United Kingdom, but in fact all over the world as well. All right. So make sure to stay updated. If you're someone who loves to stay updated and informed, well, the best way for you to do that is actually by being a part of Relax Radio. All right. So don't forget to share your thoughts, share your opinions with us, because all you need to do is just text me on 078 or even call me out on that exact same number. All right. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know how you feel about the climate, our future, and what exactly needs to be done to protect our climate and our future as well. Okay. And I want to very quickly remind you now, our app is actually available for download on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. So all you need to do is just to go download that app. All right. All you need to do is just head on over to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Just type in Relax Radio on the search bar and you can find our app, right? And you can listen in from anywhere in the world on any device, right? Regardless of whether the device is iOS or Android, you can listen in from anywhere. And regardless of what you're doing as well, you can listen in. So that's absolutely amazing news. Now, if you're someone who's always on social media as well, I have something for you, because you can head on over to our Facebook page and like it, or follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, okay? Because that way you can actually make sure that you're always informed about the very latest that happens all over the world. So don't actually forget to do that, and don't forget to be a part of this show. All right, and now let's actually head into our conversation, which is basically about the climate of our future and why exactly we need to focus on the climate and why exactly we need to focus on our future. Now, earlier we were talking about how the United Kingdom plans to have about 3 million homes that could be heated with hydrogen by the end of 2030, right? And this is essentially in a bid to have much cleaner, much greener energy, given the fact that a lot of the energy that we use in the United Kingdom is in fact green, is not in fact safe as well, right? So this is why we're going ahead with this, and this is why the United Kingdom actually wants to go ahead with this plan, because they're very concerned about the IPCC report that was released, and how all of the things, all human activities have contributed to climate change, have contributed to some of the disasters that we have currently been facing, right? So that is in fact a big problem, and that is why we're going to be talking about this, right? Now, the government actually hopes to attract about 4 billion of investment for the hydrogen economy by 2030, right? And this is also under plans to actually produce the equivalent of enough hydrogen to replace the fossil fuel gas that is used for heating and cooking in 3 million of the United Kingdom households, right? So essentially, if we're going to replace the 3 million households using a fossil fuel gas with hydrogen, then that means it's going to be much cleaner, right? Because hydrogen has actually proved to be much cleaner and much greener. And in our fight against climate change, in our fight against global warming and greenhouse gas emissions, then the best thing we can do is to invest in greener energy sources, right? And that is why the government has published its long awaited plans for a UK-wide hydrogen economy, right? Which basically says that this hydrogen wide economy could actually be worth 900 million, and it can actually create 9,000 high quality jobs by the end of the decade, right? And this is actually going to rise to about 13 billion and 100,000 new jobs by 2050. So in another few more years, we'll basically have a hydrogen powered economy in terms of electricity, and we will also make sure that we have a better output. We will also make sure that we're creating jobs for people with this hydrogen economy. And I think this is just the beginning of what sustainable and greener energy could be like. Because if we expand this further, if we try and find new technologies, new alternatives to fossil fuels and to fossil fuels, essentially, we can actually make sure that we have a much greener environment, and that we actually have a much better future as well. Not just us, but if we have kids, our kids, and the future generation of children as well. So we'll essentially make this planet a much greener and much safer space for these people. Okay, so make sure to do that. All right. Now, there is this strategy document that is going to lay out its efforts to attract investment in 5 gigawatts of hydrogen production by 2030, right? And this would actually mostly power heavy industries, right? So this is basically like power and transport, and that could actually help about 70,000 homes, right? Which is absolutely amazing news as well. So that is what it is in terms of energy production, in terms of how exactly it's going to change in the United Kingdom with regard to having hydrogen heating in our households and whatnot, right? And probably with all of this, what this could actually mean is that hydrogen is actually going to cover up about 20 to 35% of the United Kingdom's energy consumption by 2050, right? And by 2050, we're going to have a much cleaner and much better alternative to oil and gas in energy intensive industries, power, and transport as well. Okay, so it's important to keep that in mind. However, we're going to head into a small break now, but don't worry because I will be back with more interesting conversation after this break. So until then, make sure you stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio. And I'm super excited to be here because we're having a very important and even interesting conversation, I might add, with regard to, greenwashing, with regard to heating based on hydrogen energy, hydrogen. And we're also talking about a hydrogen economy and how that's essentially going to create a lot of jobs, not just right now, but also in the near future as well, and why that's probably the best way to go about with this. All right. So make sure to stay tuned. Make sure to let me know your thoughts on this because you can text me or call me on 078 share your thoughts, share your opinions. Let me know what you are thinking about. All right. Because I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this. Right. And don't actually forget to go like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel either, because that way you can actually make sure that you're always informed about the very latest that happens in the world. Okay. And something else you can do is actually to download an app, because that's available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. And you can actually make sure that through that, you're always informed about everything that happens in the world. Okay. And now let's actually head into the conversation because we're going to be talking about greenwashing. All right. Now, like I said, greenwashing happens to be one of the biggest problems in the United Kingdom right now, simply because of how exactly you're having all of these people, you're having all of these big companies that say, look, you know what, we're green, we're actually making sure that we have greener, sustainable, cleaner energy, but not actually having that sort of greener, sustainable, cleaner energy, right? And that has also led to a lot of consumers being misled by these firms saying, oh, you know what, we have green energy, you should probably, invest in us, you should probably, buy our products and whatnot, and then them finding out that it's not as sustainable or it's not as green as they said they are. Right now, this happens to be one of the biggest problems, right? And a reason as to why a lot of these companies are going green, or they label themselves as green, is essentially because in terms of tax, there is a lot of tax exemptions, there is a lot of benefits for these companies that are green, right? Now, and it's not just here in the United Kingdom, it's in fact all over the world as well. If you look at anywhere in the world, you basically have a lot of countries that provide tax exemptions or benefits to companies that are considered greener and sustainable. All right. So that is just how it works, because that is an incentive for more companies to go green. However, with that also, there comes a lot of other companies that will say, look, we're green, but they're not actually green because look how many companies are the government actually going to investigate into. How many companies are going to have proper checks like that. And that happens to be one of the biggest issues, right? Because even though this is the case, even though there are so many people that are, that even though there are so many people that consume, or even though there are so many consumers of green energy, this has in fact become one of the biggest problems. All right. And a warning has actually said, the warning by the government has actually said that it's planning to tighten the rules to essentially stop firms from to stop firms from exaggerating the environmental benefits of their green electricity tariffs, right? Which is basically this marketing tactic called greenwashing, which I was telling you about earlier as well. Because the business department said that this investigation would focus on whether labels as 100% renewable or even green actually remained fit for these companies, right? Remained fit for these companies to actually use, especially when they were, advertising their product and saying, look, you should probably invest in us and make sure that you get, you are a part of our company because we're much more greener and we're much more safer, right? So that is what the conversation is about for today. Now, make sure you stay tuned because in a few minutes, Hiba and I will be here to continue this conversation with you. But we will be talking about the Plymouth shooting. We'll be talking about gun violence, social media, how all of these things play a role. All right. So make sure to stay tuned to the conversation. Make sure to stay informed and updated because I will be back in a few minutes to keep talking to you about all of this. So until then, make sure that you stay tuned.